Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of this pink and white rose quartz macrame necklace tutorial. In this section, we're going to be doing some work on the top, some work on the bottom, and the entire pink design part. In the end of the last video, I left off a piece and I'm gonna start off where we're gonna actually do that part now. So as you can see in this beginning of this video, there's no work done at the top or the bottom, and so we're gonna do that now. So we're just gonna there are 4 Chinese knotting cords and 2 of the white wax cords that we left off when we started doing our leaves. So we're just going to take the 2 Chinese knotting cords on the left and make it into the diamond pattern, and we're going to add a bead. We're going to use 6 strings to add a bead at this is the bottom. Okay, so just use the Chinese knotting cords first. 2 sit on top of the other, and then use the white wax cord to make the 3rd string on each side. And then I'm using, it's sort of like a rose metallic colored bead. I think it's a 6mm bead. You are free to use whichever one you want. I would recommend using a bead that comfortably, so that 6 strings can wrap it and it looks nice. I don't know the measurements of my beads because at the bead store they're just all in like these bins and I just collect them. They're not labeled usually, so unfortunately I don't know the exact size, but I believe it's a 6mm bead, just the size of it, and it's got a very large hole in the center. Okay, so 6-string bead wrap thing. And it's okay if it looks like it's sort of like loose. We're gonna fix that by tying strings from the design into it. And I'm just gonna flip my board around and do the top. Now with the top one, we're gonna use all only Chinese knotting cords. So there's the very 2 at the top that came from the wrap, and then we're going to use the one that comes from the pink cord and the one that comes from the white leaf cords to get our 6 from, and that's a way to just secure up the top. And all of those cords underneath you can just push off to the side so they're off your way. But don't cut those yet. So we have 6 now, all white Chinese knotting cord. Well, that's what I have. 2 from the pink and 2 from the white leaf row right underneath it. Okay? And we just take the first 2 and just take the one right underneath, do a double knot on the left, take the one right underneath that and do a double knot, and do the same thing, and we're going to add the same bead from the bottom onto the top. Okay, and take the middle 2 cords and add your bead. You can choose any color scheme you want. I went with this, like, it's a sort of rose colored metal one, and then I used gold, and then I used this sort of orangey, kind of orangey color 2mm bead that I use in the side. If you reference back to the picture from the first video, you'll see in the very light pink in the very middle, I use this orangey color bead, but then I use some other gold beads just to give it some more pops of color. And just make sure it's tight and secure. And so now we've added a bead on the top and a bead on the bottom. And this will be the base for the next part of the design, which is, I'm going to take the white strings that we left off from the very first leaf patterns, and I'm going to do a frame knot, which is just a back and forth. You just go back and forth with the holding string until it's long enough that it makes like how do you call it? So from like the left, it would make like a letter looking L sort of, but it's kind of curvy, and just the opposite on the other side. I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom. I'm going to take those two cords left over from that we left off from the white leaves, and then I'm going to knot them right onto those 3 cords where we just did the bead. I didn't keep count of this. I could have counted now, but I didn't. Anyways, I just sort of, each side won't be the exact same because one is slightly higher and one is slightly lower. I realized, and so you just sort of do it by feel and by look. Make it long enough to a point where you're happy with it, and when you see the rest of the design, you can decide if you're happy with that or not. I decided to do 2 more just to give it a little bit more waviness. And I take a normal pin to just pin that in place so I can knot it onto those 3 knotting cords. And it went underneath that very first leaf. And I just sped the video up a bit because then the rest is going to be doing the exact same thing. Just a back and forth knot, or frame knot I think it's called, until it's long enough to look very close to the one that you just did. If you want to know how many I did in my video, you can always, I guess, go back and kind of pause it and count, but there are parts of my designs where I just go by, I think it looks fine. They look as good as it's going to get, but plus also some of this you're not really going to see that much because of the other design elements we do. Okay, now I'm going to flip my board around and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Wait, why did I flip it back? Yeah, so I decided, I didn't remember. I decided that it didn't look even after all. Once you look at it from the other angle, sometimes it's easier to see like that. Yeah. Okay, so I took 2 knots away and went back and redid it. One was a little bit bigger looking than the other. And that happens. Sometimes you just don't realize that it looks off until you flip it around or look at it from a different angle. No. I know that some point later in this video there's something that I did wrong and I had to go back and redo. But I will let you know when we get there. Alright, so now back to the top. We're going to take the same and do the same thing with those two cords on each side coming from the first row of leaves that we did on the bottom. Since this is the bottom, they might even be a little bit smaller because the distance between, I can't tell. Anyways. I did try to count, but since I have this video sped up, I'm not going to catch it. And other side, same thing. You can kind of tell that leaf is a slightly closer to the bead than the other one. I wish I had. Even though you use the exact same amount of cords on both sides, and you even place them in the same spot, sometimes it just winds up that way. Never tried to do this design on a circle cab because I don't have any, and I wonder if that would still even happen then. Alright, so as you can see now, I've already done 1/2 because I needed to know what did I exactly want to do before I got into the design phase to film. So 1/2 is done, and we're going to show you how to do the second half, and then bring it all together on the ends. So right, okay, so I didn't know that I was gonna use these second white ones, but I decide that I'm going to, so we're gonna just do the same thing that you guys just did, but with these two cords coming from the middle of the leaves. You're just gonna knot them and tie them into the bottom or top. I think this is actually the top. But I know what I did there on the right side of the screen, when I went to do the left side, the side that we're working on together, I started doing it differently than what I'd done on the right side. I wasn't paying that much attention or something. I don't know what I was doing. So I'm going to wind up undoing some of those knots on the right, where you can see the pink strings that were tied to the white down there underneath the bead. And so at one point the video is gonna jump to where these sections are undone, and we're gonna have to redo them. So you can go ahead and tie this this frame knot if you want to, but if you want to right now, you can just leave it without attaching it, because I know later I'm going to reattach it in a way that's different from the right side. I don't know what my reasoning completely was. I think that it looked like I had done one thing, but then I thought I did a different thing, and so I just undid it to be sure that they were matching. And so whatever I'm doing right at this moment, if you want to just wait, there will be a video later on where we come back to this and redo it. So you can just leave it for now. Yeah, that's really all. I just know that I do that. So, but essentially this is what we're doing. So if you're comfortable that you know what you did on, well, you wouldn't have done the other side yet. Anyways, yeah, this isn't what I normally would do, but I did something different on one side than the other. That's all I know right now, because when I was going back through the videos, I had undone some things at one point. But anyways, it's fine for now. Okay, I'm speeding up the video anyhow for this next part. I think the problem was really here on this part. Not so much the one at the bottom, but this one here at the top, I think. So, like I said, you can just go ahead and tie it in if you want to, and see what I do differently later, or you can just leave them untied. Yeah, see, I'm realizing actually right now that something is just not quite right. I have a... Okay, see, I didn't realize I did it so soon. So I undid those. This is on the top, so whatever I did on one side was not the same on the other, so I decided to redo it, okay, which meant I had to take out the pink ones that I had already done, which you guys have not done yet, so don't worry about that. So I'm pinning back that leaf because it's kind of in the way. Alright, so now I take the first cord, because you will have 4 cords, since we knotted in the first set of strings. It looks like I left one off at the end, so there actually would have been 5. Yeah, that's right. There would have been 5 strings, so we're gonna knot the next one over and do 4. And we're gonna leave it like that because I'm gonna add a bead there. Okay, then we take the second string coming from the leaves and knot them onto it. No, you know what? This is the bottom. I'm really sorry, you guys. It gets a little confusing because I can't see where the Chinese knotting cords that lets me know if it's top or bottom. Okay, but I can see now because there's only 2 Chinese knotting cords at the bottom. On the top there would be 3. So this is the bottom. I did something differently on one side than from the next. So just try to follow along and knot them in. I think it's too small. I need to make it just a tiny bit longer. It's too congested. Okay, that should be a little better. So that first one that you knot with should be a Chinese knotting cord, and the second one should be a Chinese knotting cord. And then we're left with the 2 that were tied together, and then I'm going to take the 2 that we just put into there and do it like a bead, and we're going to add a bead. I think I just do this now just so that I don't get confused again later when I add the pink cords back in. I think this is why this video wound up being a little bit longer than it should have been, is because I had to fix a couple mistakes. Okay, so there I just added a gold bead. It's slightly smaller than the one above it, but it's still got to be a 6 millimeter bead, sorry. Okay, so hopefully you understood what I just did. I added in the 2 frame knots coming from the leaves, and we're using those cords along with the, yeah, we're using those cords to add a bead. And I will probably flip it around. No, I'm gonna go ahead and add the pink from the side I'd already done. So that was a dark pink, the first one that we'll do once we get into it. And then the lighter, or the medium pink, sort of the pink. And then I take the pink cord that was hanging down from the frame knot to make, so I have 3 pinks. And then later on I'll knot those into those bead cords and use them to make a bead. Okay. And now I need to go back up top and make sure that the same thing, yeah, I guess I did the same thing here. Anyways, so you knotted in the 2 white cords, and now we're gonna add a bead. On the right side of the screen, you can see that the pinks are there from the side I already did, but at this point I think I had already fixed if I had made a mistake on this part. Yeah, this is the top. This is definitely the top. And I didn't need to do anything, so the first bead is definitely a 6mm bead. The second bead here could be 4, but it could be 6. I just don't know. They're very similar in size, but the first one is slightly bigger. I should print out one of those bead charts where you set the bead on it and it tells you how big it is. So the only things I ever know for certain are the size of my cords, because when you order them or when you pick them up, they say so on the package. Yeah, that was the top, because the very first white wax cord we didn't use in the top. We did use it in the bottom, but not on the top. Alright, so we should be cutting, the next scene should be starting the pink. Okay, so we're going to start with the dark pink on the very, this is the bottom. I can tell because on the upper left-hand corner I can see the pink Chinese knotting cords. Alright, so we're going to take 4 cords. We're going to go down towards the bottom or to the right if you prefer. And we're going to do a 4-cord leaf here. So yeah, it goes pretty quick when it's only 4 cords. You take the top 2 strings and cross the original one and under and make a knot. And then you stick your T-pin. You always want to use a pin when you're making a leaf. It's just makes it easier to make that point. Take those 2, cross them, make 2 more knots, or a double knot rather. And then we got the 3rd string there. And start at the top, make another row, and that will be the end of a four string leaf. Now I'm gonna take, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the one string right next to it, and I'm gonna make a 5 chord, make a 5 chord leaf. We're not gonna like eliminate any strings. We're just gonna use all the strings, all the 4 strings from the first sleeve plus one we're adding. And just don't get that 6 chord mixed in with what you're doing. Just leave it off to the side if you can. And we're at the top, so you cross those 2 over to make a knot. And then position yourself to make this into the leaf. First string double knot, crisscross these 2 strings to make another double knot. Then you can connect it to the 3rd string. And then you go back to the top and work your way down. Okay, and that's the last one, so that's the 5th string. And we just made a 5 string leaf. Okay, so now we have one leftover chord for the dark pink, and we're just going to make a row going up or down, whichever, whatever. Just connect all 5 strings. We're not making another leaf here. We're gonna do a frame knot and bring it down into the white where the bead is. So with that last chord there, we're gonna start tying a frame knot. And this won't need to be very long, so that top chord will be kind of short, and it's okay because you're not going to use the one that you're using to tie the knots with at the moment. We're just going to use the one chord that you're tying the knot on to. I believe that my pink cords I did mine all 60 centimeters, so you may need to cut them 60 centimeters. It could be a little short if not. But right now I'm going to thread this string in between the 2 white frame knots that we connected. See, one goes, it's under the first one and over the second one, in between them. I'm sandwiching that pink in there like a jelly sandwich, okay? Make sure that you, oh, mine got a little spun. Make sure it's straight. And we're gonna go see if it's long enough to connect. And we're just gonna connect it for now to the 3 cords at the top, not the ones that have the bead. So I'm gonna do 2 more knots because it's just a little tight. I want it to be a little bit looser. Even though you really don't see it, making things too tight can put too much, I don't know, I guess I want to say like pressure on the design. This has gotta be the, I thought we were working on the, no, this is the bottom. Yeah, that third one was a wax cord, okay? So that's gonna be that for that dark pink. And I'm probably just gonna flip now and do the exact same thing on the other side, but going in the opposite direction. So that one was facing down towards the bottom. This one will be facing up towards the top. Take the first 4 cords and make a 4 string leaf. And then take the 5th cord right next to it and use all 4 cords and make a 5 string leaf. It's actually a little bit easier to see at this angle. And you keep going back to the top and working your way down until you get to the attaching string. Then you know you gotta go back to the top and start working your way down. These dark pinks for me are a little bit more waxy than the rest of them, but you'll be able to, if you're working with really waxy strings, you know, you can like wash it off, dampen it just a bit, and wash off that excess wax. And now the 6th string, you just go up in a row, and we'll use that to make a frame knot to tie into the white part at the top. And once I've given it some length, I'll do the same thing that I did on the bottom, is I will sandwich it in between the two sections there, the two cords. And you just want to make sure it has a bit of slack so it's not too tight. But again, with this design, you don't really see that that at all. So okay, so that's it for the dark pink. And now we're gonna move into the lighter pinks, and there are 6 strings here. So starting going from on your screen from left to right, take the first string and the second string, take the second string and knot onto the first string, then take those two, hold them together and knot the third string onto over both of them, leave that one hanging, then take the fourth string, knot, gather those 3. Now you're holding 3. The 5th string, do a double knot and leave it hanging there. And now you're holding 3, and now we're taking the 6th string, doing a double knot, and we'll use this string to make this loop thing. So for all 4 that I've done, I did 13 back and forth knots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And I just chose that number because I liked the way it looked, and I remembered that number so that they all will look they'll all be the same size. So then you kind of pin it in a I don't know what you call that shape, and then attach the first hanging down string, the double knot, then do 2 knots back and forth to close the gap between the 2 strings that you left hanging down. Okay, hope you caught that. And tie a double knot with the last string that was hanging down. Then you use that string, and we're going to do another loop, but this one we're only going to do 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then you make it into, I guess, like a C, it's a loop, kinda. I really don't know what you call it. I never had a name for it. Anyways, and then you attach it the same way you just did. Take the first string, do a double knot, then do 2 more back and forth knots to close the gap, and do a double knot. And you can pin it to secure it. And now I'm going to do another frame knot going down. I actually did it differently from the top and the bottom, but the result is still the same. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And now, because I don't want to wind up with 3 cords hanging down, I'm going to take 1 cord. I chose the shortest one to wrap around. Now I have 2 left, and then I'm going to do the same thing so I only have 1 left. Okay, and then you can tie it. Don't use the pink one. Oh, I do 2 more just because I guess it wasn't quite long enough. Yep, 2 more again. Okay, I'm going to secure it with the pin and then attach it to those 3 cords there, right next to the dark pink ones you did. If you're not quite following along with, you know, what I'm saying, just, you know, feel free to pause the video, rewind the video, go back, watch it again, watch it 5 times if you have to, watch it 10 times if you have to. Sometimes people are more visual learners. For me, I definitely am. The pink one, right? The second pink one that was there next to the white cords. Because I'm going to use those 3 pink cords. I'm going to tie them to the white cords that are hanging off from the bead. Tie them down so I can make a bead with them. I didn't do it on the other side, so I'm going to do that now. I believe this is, yeah, this is the top, because I think I can see the Chinese knotting cords that I put off to the side. That's how I can always tell, because I usually try to do the same design on the top and the bottom until it comes to a point where I need to turn it into a pendant, and I keep track by those cords that I leave on the back of the cab. Okay, so that's what we got now. You can see that the dark pink and the brighter medium pink are the same on both sides, more or less. And I'm gonna just do the same thing now on the other side. And I'm gonna speed up the video a little bit because you're just going to do the same thing you just did, just going in the opposite direction, where before we went from left to right, now we're going from right to left. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 to make our loop. And then we'll use 9 to make our loop. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I'll make our second loop. And everything you're doing on the side that we're working on together, you're going to do on the other side on your own. Like I had already done it, so I knew what to film. So yeah, so you can see on this side, I started by using 1 cord to wrap around 2 cords to go down instead of the 3. It's such a like you barely notice the difference in the size of the frame knot. So like you could do it either way. I don't know why I did it one way and then differently another way. I might have taken like a break or something and thought that that's how I did it. I don't know. But you can barely notice the difference. So and we just tie it in and then take the next pink that's there. Alright, so what am I doing? I'm just straightening out all my cords because I like to do that. Okay, now we move on to the middle, the very light pink. And there's 8 cords. We're going to take 4 cords pointing, going left to right, and we're going to make a 4-cord leaf. Top 2, cross them over to make your tip. I think before I spin my board, I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, going the opposite direction. And once we finish up this pink, I don't remember what I did in the next video. Okay, just wait till we get there. Okay, now I'm going to flip my board around to turn these into leaves. You just stick a T-pin to give yourself the point you need. And again, we're just making leaves with just 4 cords. I'm hoping at this stage, since I use them so often in my designs, if you've tried any of my videos, you should be a pro at this now. I just like the way they look. I can't help myself. I like making them too. I don't know if I'm ever gonna try to show you guys how I do a tree, but I think I should. Maybe I'll do a small tree. In those tree designs that I do, it's like there's no rhyme or reason to leaf placement. It's always just like I call it like free form almost. It's like free form macrame. There's no, if you do one side this way, you have to do the other side the exact same way. It's not like that at all. You're just randomly placing leaves wherever you think they need to go. Go to my Etsy page and look at my trees. You'll see what I mean. I have like 2 necklaces left and the big giant tree of life. And then I have a smaller tree that I did that's like purples, yellows, and greens. All right, so I've made my 2 4-leaf leaves, 4 string leaves, sorry. I'm going to take those 2 top strings and I'm going to put a bead in there. And it might seem kind of strange, but I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to use a needle to sew it through the back. It makes an interesting, like it makes the bead sort of pop out, and it's kind of just a fun design choice I figured out during an earlier design I had done. Sorry, it was quite cold last night. I'm a little sniffly. So I didn't tie the 2 strings together. They're the last strings from the leaves, and I just added a bead onto both of them. Okay, and then you'll see there are 6 strings hanging down from the leaf. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a needle on one side and push it through. So just needle your thread, thread your needle, and hold on one second, I had a pause, and I'm gonna just take a point, if you can kind of see, like in between, it's hard to explain, it's like in between the row that wraps the stone and then the first row of the leaf. You can kind of see it there. Look very carefully where I'm putting the needle because it's really hard to explain. I'm just gonna kind of force it through. Now I'm gonna pull on those threads and make sure that they're pulling the bead to the to a point where you can't see the threads that much, but you still will see them kind of. You can see where they're coming through on the back. Sorry, it's a little off camera. So I just sort of pull and wiggle at it until it looks like the bead is almost floating there. Okay, and then you're gonna wanna tie those 2 cords together in the back. I was trying to use the needle to hold it, but it won't. Okay, so it kind of looks like it's floating on top there, which gives it a neat little effect. And that's why I did it that way. And it fills in a little gap, and it's just a more decorative element. So now I'm gonna take those 6 strings and add one of the gold ones. So just take the first 2, tie them together, and then take the next 2 next to it and tie it onto that one. And same thing you do for when you add a bead. You make the bead diamond shape. Okay, and just knot it up. And I still have my needle sitting there, because what I'm gonna do now, so that it's just not floating there, I'm gonna take the last 2 cords coming off the bead. My needle is big enough to fit both. And I'm gonna punch it through the 2 middle leaves where you tied them together and from the back before. So you can see what's on the screen now on the other side. There are only 2 cords coming off of the bead. That's because I sewed them through into the back, and you just tie them together to secure it. Okay, nice and tight. So you can see on that side what it looks like, and now the other side. And so that's it. That's all I do for the pink for this design. Do the same thing on both sides, like always. And then I think all that's left to do for me is I'm gonna cut all of the pink that I don't need to clean this up for you guys. Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. It's a sped up video because hopefully, you know, you don't really need to see that. We're just gonna cut all the pink. This one is gonna be a little tricky. I should have cut it before I could have cut it before I did the the loopy parts, but I didn't. Because again, like I'm never quite so sure until I'm at the end that I'm happy with what I've done. I really try not to make cuts. But at this point, I know all I want to do next is finish the bottom and start making the hoop for the pendant. And when you flip over to the back, just make sure you do not cut the pink Chinese knotting cords that you use to wrap the stone. And any of the cords how do I want to say, that have the beadwork around and the ones that we connected, because we still haven't finished the top and the bottom yet. Those are 2 cords that I did not need. See those ones I just pulled? Make sure you don't cut those. And if you're just not comfortable cutting anything yet until you see what I do next, that's cool too. Like really, if you're not comfortable cutting anything until you've seen the whole design, then don't. Just go with your gut. Only cut when you're sure and you're happy. Okay, and then after I'm sure that I cut everything I needed to cut off, just go around and singe all the edges. See what all that's left there are the ones connecting the top and the ones connecting the bottom. And we're just going to singe all the edges from everything we cut. And you can see me like bending parts back to get the angle I need for my lighter. I just use a normal Bic lighter. And just make sure you find wherever you cut and singe it. Just good practice. It makes your macrame stay in place. Alright, so I'm pretty sure I'll be coming to the end of this video, and in the next video we will, finish knotting the bottom into a nice cool point, and then the top we do some design work and then turn it into a tail that we connect to the back to make a hoop for a pendant. So that's going to be the end. I hope that you've enjoyed this and you followed along with me to make this. So we will see you soon for the next video. Thanks again. Bye bye.